And then there were 8. But who takes the cake from this remaining field? The first team on my list comes in at number 8, the Houston Texans. Now, the Texans' defense dominated against the Chargers, and this defensive front is dominant. They get after the quarterback. But the secondary is arguably more impressive, headlined by Derek Stingley, easily a top 2 corner in the league. This defense is nothing to scoff at and can keep the Texans in any game. However, despite the defensive dominance, the offense continues to just not impress me. Joe Mixon has slowed down since the dominant opening to 2024, although he looked really good in that win against the Chargers. But this passing attack is just not the same one we saw last year. There's been some injuries to the top 2 weapons, and CJ Stroud has looked off his game. It's these offensive concerns that just make me hesitant to overreact to this dominant defensive performance and move them any higher up the list. I think this is a team that just needs another year and a few pieces on offense to get healthy on offense and maybe add a couple more pieces to this O-line to really be legit contenders. And it's for these offensive concerns that I have them at 8th. Moving on to number 6 on my list, we have the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams have been one of, if not the hottest team in football since their Week 12 spanking at the hands of the Eagles. They let Barkley go for a franchise record 255 yards. And I still have concerns over this run defense, who ranked 21st in opponent rushing yards per game. However, this offense, led by Stafford and more importantly McVay, is lethal and are going to look to continue their dominance that they showcased against a very good and very aggressive Vikings D. On the other side of the ball, Jared Verse has been a welcome addition as the rookie up front, and this unit is playing their best ball of the season at the right time. I think there's a clear divide between these first 3 teams and the other 5. I think, however, you really want to order these 3 is all right, but the Rams is the most well rounded and the most experienced. I mean, they just won a Super Bowl not very long ago with a lot of these similar pieces, and Sean McVay is a great head coach, and at the end of the day, that's what edges them above the Commanders and the Texans. Now, it's at this point on the list that there is a legitimate argument for any of these final 5 teams to be number 1. I really think I could have ranked them in any random order and got away with it because they're really all that close and that good. However, with that being said, I have the Bills as the worst of the best. Josh Allen alone makes this team dangerous. And if he keeps playing at the level he has, yeah, you can make the argument they could be number 1. I mean, he's playing at an MVP level without a doubt. However, I think he has the worst supporting cast out of any of the final 5 teams. I mean, it concerns me truly if Josh Allen can continue to carry this team all alone. Now, despite a worse supporting cast than last year, this team still looked better. And it's all thanks to Josh Allen. I mean, you can give some credit to the run game too, which has looked really good and underrated. But I think it's largely Josh Allen, and the Bills looked absolutely dominant against the Broncos. While Buffalo's defense isn't as dominant as a lot of the other defenses that are here, they're still top 10 in opponent points per game, but they're middle of the pack in pretty much any other meaningful defensive statistic. They're a pretty average unit. However, I must say they're peaking at the right time. They've played better these last few weeks. They looked great against Denver. And like I said, that severely underrated run game as well. I think Josh Allen has got to play at an absolutely perfect level for this team to really make a deep run. And if that doesn't happen, which obviously I'm hedging my bets here, I think this is a good spot to have him on the list. Moving on to this top 4 of the most well rounded teams on the list. At number 4, the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, this one's going to turn some heads. I know. The Chiefs win. They just win. They find ways. It looks ugly. It might not be pretty, but they win. And it feels weird to put back to back defending champions with the best record in the league at fourth. And if you're saying that right now, honestly, you're right. I still can't really believe I'm doing it. All season, though, they just haven't passed the eye test. They really haven't. Not on offense, at least. And they continue to play complementary football and they stay out of the major deficits. They're going to stay in games, they're going to be close. But this offense just, I don't see it. I mean, they keep drives alive, actually, and they're better than anyone else on third down, which is, if you want to make that argument to put them at number one, yeah, it's a good one to make. But and then this defense is super stout in the middle and very solid, but they aren't the best unit left. They're not, but they're a very good defense. And this Chiefs team, it finds ways to win. Andy Reid's an elite head coach. Should have been a contender for Coach of the Year, but they never give it to the actual best coach. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this eye test, and I can't argue for this team to be at number one when I've seen how ugly they've looked throughout the season, and I think it's gonna catch up to them here in the divisional round or around soon after. Moving on to number three, it's the Baltimore Ravens. Now, despite a few stumbles this year, the Ravens have the most dominant rushing attack in the league. No matter what metric you use, what advanced statistic you want to find, it's going to point to the Ravens. The duo of Lamar and Derrick Henry is frankly unparalleled. And this ground game alone is enough to make them Super Bowl contenders. I mean, it's dominant. And then you pair it with the number one passing offense in terms of average passer rating, and you have the most dangerous offensive player in the league, the MVP frontrunner, and maybe the best football player in the world, Lamar Jackson at the helm. This team is extremely dangerous, even without Zay Flowers, their best target on offense. And then you pair this dominant offense with a top 10 defense, and you just have a dangerous recipe for success and one I'm willing to buy in on. At number two, we have a team that I think a lot of analysts are sleeping on, are getting tripped up over semantics and past failures. And frankly, I think there's no way around it. They are the second best team. That, of course, is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles had a dominant defensive performance against the Packers, and there's just no doubt in my mind that this unit has earned the title of number one defense in the league. Then you pair that with Saquon Barkley, who was dominant with 25 carries, 119 yards against the Packers, and could have had a garbage time touchdown with a bunch more yards, but slid down as a show of sportsmanship. And however, there's concerns, and this is where the analysts get tripped up over this passing game that couldn't get going against a less than stellar Packers secondary headlined by injuries and major pieces out at corner. But with that being said, I'm just not too concerned. As this Eagles team, they were right. They're content to rely on the run and their defense to win the game, and they're going to continue to do so. I don't think they're worried about it internally, and I'm not worried about it externally looking in. This defense is the best in the league, and even without Nakobe Dean, who went down, prayers for him, but I think they can still carry this team to this number two ranking, and this ground attack is elite. The second best rushing attack in the league, just behind the Ravens, and this is a dominant team at number two. And then there was one, the last team on the rankings that top the total poll. This is the team everyone's chasing, and they've been chasing them all season. It's the Detroit Lions. That's right. Injury ridden and all, I still have them on top. I mean, what can I say about this team that really hasn't already been said? They're the most aggressive team in the league, and they find ways to win. Similarly to the Chiefs, this defense is injured. This is the elephant in the room, and they looked human against the 49ers and against the Bills too. But I'm not concerned. Look at their performance against the Vikings week 18. In a huge match when it mattered most, when the lights were the brightest, they showed up. They're very well coached by both Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, and they really embrace the next man up philosophy. And then on the other side of the ball, Ben Johnson. He's the man. And he is the best coordinator in the country. Offense, defense, it's just semantics. He's the best. And he's an absolute unit of a play caller. I mean, he maximizes every single piece of this offense. And it's truly art to watch. I mean, a lot said about the trick plays and the crazy passes and, eligible linemen and whatever, but the heart and soul of this team is the run scheme. And boy, I want to know who their run coordinator is, who's really behind this. I know it's Ben Johnson. It's got to be Ben Johnson. I mean, some of these plays are just pure bliss. Watching this offensive line, watching these backs, watching this scheme. Gibbs and Montgomery are now both healthy going into the divisional round, and you pair that with Jared Goff's great decision making and the dynamic receivers they have, and St. Brown, and all their depth is great too. It's just, it equals a top two offense in football. I'd place them just behind the Ravens, and then the ground game and the ball control. It just the way they control the ball, the way they control the game on defense. It's the willingness to go for it on fourth down. That's how you control a game, and they do it better than anyone. They really do. The special teams play, oh my goodness, they've had great special teams play all year, and they control the game. And, in my opinion, are the best remaining team. Despite not being as overwhelmingly dominant as they were in the middle of the year, this Lions team is still the team to beat.